KTM's first line in their press note is that this is the true orange ADV. Welcome to the 18 Days, and today we're going to look at the 390S, the Adventure S. This is going to be a slightly longer video, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. When you look at the 390S, the 390 standard as people call it nowadays, the first thing is that this is nothing like the old bike. The previous bike was like a Duke in a taller stance in the ADV form, but this is actually the bike where KTM has done a lot of R&D and worked on and created this ADV. And you know, the result of all their history of Dakar and their years of research and development, this is what they've come up with. One of the best ADVs in the market. So the engine specs of this motorcycle remain same with the 390X. If you haven't checked out that video, there's a link in the I button here. You can go check out the video on the 390X. So the engine is the same. It is a 389cc engine which produces around 46 horsepower and 39 Newton meters of torque. And this engine gives you a lot of confidence on the road, and it is not as twitchy as the Duke engine. This is much more calmer, refined engine in order to give you the confidence on the road. The third gen Duke is when KTM had refined their engine and made one of the best engines that KTM has brought out. And you know, they've used that same engine. This is a single cylinder engine that they've used in the Duke, the 390X and the 390S. This has proved to be one of the best engines, and you know, it's the most capable 390cc engine, which is a single cylinder engine. And apart from this engine, above this you only have to move to a twin cylinder engine, and this is the most amount of power that you can push out with a single cylinder engine. KTM has achieved a thinner waistline with this motorcycle because they've increased the height of the motorcycle and they've lowered the seat height. So this bike has around 830 mm seat height and the ground clearance is around 237 mm. While comparing it to the previous bike was pretty low. It had around 200 mm of ground clearance, and the seat height was really tall. It was around 855 mm. But this one, they've lowered the waistline very well, that you know, you can, any height that you can be comfortable on this motorcycle, and it is taller to cross potholes or to take it off-roading as well. Since this is an off-roading motorcycle, it is very capable for its off-road conditions. So now firstly, to talk to you about the face of the motorcycle, this has stacked LEDs. As you know, if you check out my 390X and the 250 adventure videos, you will see that this shares the same headlight as those bikes. And this has a taller stance compared to, you know, the Himalayan, which is a much more wider stance. This has taller and much more taller profile as well. So the headlight is all LEDs. You have DRLs on the side, and plus you have a stacked projector which has pretty good visibility all around. Now comparing this with the old bike had a lot of issues where, you know, the suspension was too hard, the front forks were too hard, the off-road was not enjoyable at all with the bike, and the seat height was too high. But everything has been solved with this bike. They have made the suspension really well. In fact, this is an adjustable suspension where you can adjust it manually, the front and the back. You can adjust the preload, the rebound, everything according to your comfort. But all depends on the amount of off-road experience that you have. You know, that's when you will understand the different settings, the preload and the suspension settings, everything. That's when you will understand if you're going off-roading a lot. Apart from that, you know, the suspension is very smooth. And if you put it in sport, if you put it in street and off-road, you find the difference a lot. So the suspension is good. The traction control is very good in this motorcycle. And the old bike, when the bike is switched off or you stall the bike, it resets all the settings. But this one, if you have the traction control set to one particular setting and the bike stalls, or you switch off the bike and switch it on, it stays in that setting, which is really good, that the bike remembers the setting that you're in. So if you start your bike, you have to immediately keep moving on. You don't have to spend time, like say around 3 to 5 minutes waiting, trying to set your TC and your suspension. Everything is set according to how you have set it before. Apart from that, One feature that this bike comes with and Bajaj and KTM has not spoken about anywhere is that this bike comes with auto cancel indicators. So basically you put your indicators and there's a certain amount of time, maybe 5 seconds or 10 seconds, that the indicator stays on and then it automatically switches off. Which other bike has this feature? According to the KTM scale, KTM has a different scale, like a levels that they have according to every bike that they classify. So in order to make you understand what that scale is, a level 1 in KTM scale is basically like any road bike. Even an Activa or a Jupiter can be considered as a level 1 bike because that is city use, complete city use. A level 2 bike is a city bike that has some or very little off-road capabilities. So the previous gen Adventure 390 can be considered as a level 2 off-roader, and this bike is a level 3 off-roader with level 4 off-roading capabilities. So level 3 meaning this can go on proper off-roading and take it on different trails and everything. But a level 4 is when you have to go full out, jump over rocks and climb boulders and everything, and this has that capabilities. But this is a level 3 bike having level 4 capabilities. So that is the KTM level, the scale understanding. This bike is, if you ask me, it's not considered as a proper off-roading bike. It's considered as a touring bike. So in context with that, the wheels on this bike, it comes with around 21 and 17 inch, which is a 21-inch rear in front and 17-inch rear in the back, and these come with spoke wheels. And this is a tubeless tire that KTM has worked with, and this is a KTM patented tubeless tire. So the details on that is, you can check out Motoring for the details on how the tire that KTM has achieved this patented tire design. Yeah, so the tires are off-road capable because you get this button style tires which are road capable and off-road capable as well. Now to talk to you about the exhaust, this is an underbelly exhaust, and on an ADV, yes, it is doubtful, but then KTM has tested the bike with water weighting test, and they say they have claimed that 400 mm of water, that it can come up to around here. The water level can come up to around here, and you can ride in the water peacefully. You can even switch off the engine and switch it on and the bike will start, because apparently in the exhaust they have valves to keep the water out, and just lets the engine run. So that's one good thing that KTM has done, and a lot of YouTubers have tested the water weighting test, and pretty much everyone was able to start the bike in the water, and they were able to ride it in the water as well. So it's a very good thing. And plus, the main advantage of having an underbelly exhaust is it saved around 2.2 to 2.5 kgs, because if you have the exhaust up top, that adds around 2 to 2.5 kgs. So having it down, it saves you a lot of weight, which again helps in keeping the bike much more lighter. The S, the standard, comes with handlebar dampeners, and the handlebar dampeners come only for the India spec bikes. It is not anywhere outside, because we Indians, we tend to care a lot about the vibrations in the motorcycle and all. So that is one pain point that KTM has understood, and only for the Indian market they have added handlebar dampeners. The bike that I'm currently sitting on doesn't have that, because they haven't added the handlebar guards. So once you add the handlebar guards, after that you have the handlebar dampeners inside. And after that, talking to you about the foot pegs. So as you see, the foot pegs is a straight position, while the previous gen had a much more slanted. You had to sit like this with the old ADV, and that tended to be a lot more uncomfortable, because while off-roading, having a slanted foot peg, it tends to be a little you tend to slip a lot. But this one, since it's flat, you get a lot more control on the bike, and also you can stand on this bike also and ride. You have pretty good stance to stand and ride as well. So this bike comes with around 14.5 liter fuel tank, which is shared by the same fuel tank in the 390X as well. So the range that you get estimated is around 26 km per liter. But if you ride it very carefully, like keeping it very calm ride, you get around 31 kilometers per liter. And if you ride it very harsh, like you ride a Duke, or you want to experience the full engine power of 390, then you might get around 20. So it depends on how you ride, your mileage depends on exactly on that. One good thing that KTM has done with this compared to the previous model is that previous gen owners will know that when you fill fuel, there was a rod in between the fuel tank. So when you fill fuel, the petrol hits the rod and then it starts to splash out now, which makes it a much more messy situation. But they've removed the rod in this bike, and it in that way you don't get a messy situation. Your bike is clean and you get to fill the petrol directly in the tank. So this is a metal tank, and this is plastic surrounds that the bike comes with, and the plastics that you see are not like plastics which has been painted and then the livery has been put on. This plastics has been it's a special type of plastics, which in order to make you understand in simple terms is that this is dirt bike plastic. So basically all the dirt bikes, the plastics that they use there is a bendable plastic, where even though you go and hit somewhere, you can just bend it back into shape. So that's what KTM has used here, even with the front beak as well. This is a bendable plastic. So you go, maybe you're trying to off-road and the bike hits straight down and this bends, you just need to bend it back into place and you can easily ride off. You don't need to worry about parts, changing the parts, getting the parts and all. These are much more off-road capable, dirt bike capable parts, and the color is infused in the mold. So it comes infused with these colors. These are not painted over the parts. So the rear of the motorcycle is a slimmer, much more thinner end of the motorcycle, where firstly, because the seat is thin, pillions might find it a little uncomfortable for long rides. This is a rally style seat. Even though rally style seat for a single rider, you can go long distances, it is very comfortable, but for a pillion, it does tend to get slightly uncomfortable because of the thinner end, the rear end of the motorcycle. You get these grab handles where if you're mounting a bag, you use these grab handles to mount your bag. You don't have any other places to hook on your bag up to. Plus you can keep the rear box on this. The 390R comes with a rear box as of the launch video, but then you can mount a rear box. This seems to be pretty strong as well. So yeah, if you're looking for comfort, long rides comfort, I would say choose the Himalayan, but the KTM is much more capable for long rides, and if you're a single rider, you will enjoy the KTM Adventure S. So now we'll talk to you about the weight of this motorcycle. This bike weighs around 182 kgs. Actually, dry weight is around 164 kgs, and with petrol and everything it comes up to around 182 kgs, while the previous gen was 177 kgs. Even though on paper it looks lighter, the previous gen felt heavier compared to this, and this is much more well made. They've balanced it out really well. And when you compare this with the Himalayan is 10 kgs heavier than this. So in order to look at the off-road capabilities and the weight of the motorcycle, I feel this is much more capable because it's a lot more lighter than the Himalayan, and it has good power to take you off trails, on trails, and much more enjoyable motorcycle as well. So let's talk about the display. So this is a 5-inch display that they've managed it to mount it at a tower placement, where the previous gen had it down here and now they have it up here. And this is a bonded LED screen, and right behind this, the opening here, this is where you have the screws for your GPS mount. So you put your mount here, your GPS sits right about here, so you can mount a GPS. They've given the bolts for that as well. So now we've given a little about that. Let's talk about the screen, because this bike comes with a lot of electronics. So this is your standard display, where you have a lot of information on this. You have your phone connection, your trip meter, your speed, time, and a little information about a motorcycle. Now when you move into the display part, you have different riding modes. So when you go into riding modes, you have street, which is the lowest power configuration, where you're able to drive in the city and manage this bike in speed. So off-road condition is where you get the raw power of the bike, where you get to go on off-road trails, and plus off-road is much more enjoyable even on city roads as well. Rain mode is, again, it cuts out the power fully and lets you and gives the bike a lot more control in the rain and in the city as well. So these are the different ride modes, and then you can configure each ride mode. That is, you can configure your ABS, whether you want the rear ABS off, front ABS off. You can control your traction control, whether off and on, your quick shifter. um, Again, yeah, this bike comes with a quick shifter as standard, and you can switch it on and switch it off. Preferably I would leave it on because it's much more easier and much more smoother transitions from gears. And display mode is, you either have a standard display or you have a reduced display which just shows your gear number here and your speed. This is much more useful only for the off-road conditions where you're only on trails. You don't need any other information, you just want you and the bike to experience the trails. Apart from that, you have the info of the motorcycle which tells you the fuel limit, your trip, your battery percentage, and all these things. You have your cruise mode where you have the cruise button here on the handlebar, so you can start your cruise, and cruising on this motorcycle is very peaceful. And plus, here you have the C button which was not there on the 390X. So this C can be customized according to whatever you want the button to be. You can either customize it to pick calls or to change music, something like that. Then you have the different things like the favorites that you want to attach in the on the screen, like the lower part of the screen, what you want to display. Your quick selector as to these buttons on the screen, these buttons on the handlebar, what do you want those to function as. The custom switch, that is the C button, what do you want it to function as. The connectivity with the phone, your shift lights, that is, you either keep it as this orange U to turn when you hit the red line, or you make the screen go orange to turn when you hit the red line. Then you have your clock and date settings. Units is your kilometers or miles. And your language, you can put it different languages that you have. You get English and much more languages. Extra functions is much more extra functions that you can add on the screen. So that's a little about the display. Plus it gets hazards, and the handlebar is also pretty well laid out, and it shares the same handlebar with the 250 and 390 Adventure. The only thing is you get the cruise control and the C button, which is something new. You also get your plus and minus on both sides of the handlebar here, so that if you press the plus, it increases speed. You press the minus, it reduces speed on the cruise control. So again, it helps you in traveling long rides, which is much more usable and doesn't tire you out too much. So this bike is a very tractable and a very useful, thoughtfully made motorcycle. Whether it's the handlebar positions or the way you sit, the rider's triangle, everything is very well thought of. And even the suspension, you get 3 different suspension settings. You get comfort, middle, and sport. Comfort being the softest, middle being, the best of both worlds, and then sport being the hard, where you use it for off-road and everything. Same with the front and the back as well. So this suspension, again, as I told you before, in order to understand the suspension, how to change the suspension, and once you change, what's going to happen, you need to get some off-road experience in order to understand that. But overall, you will figure it out on the go. So this bike has much more capable cornering than the Duke, which is funny enough, because an ADV having much more cornering angles than the Duke is not something that someone would have thought of. But this has very good capabilities to corner the bike as well, and you are confident when you're cornering. Talking about that, this bike comes with cornering ABS as well, which helps you in cornering. It does have ABS it has traction control as well, where it keeps you safe. It has a lot of electronics to help you ride and learn on the go, and also to protect you when you're on off-road conditions. Overall, when you're looking at the KTM 390 S, this is a very capable bike, a much more practically thought of bike, and it's a very well made bike as well, whether it's a suspension or whether it's the electronics or whether it's the engine. It is very useful, and the electronics of the bike come in handy very well whenever you need it, and it gives you the confidence while riding. In that way, you get a lot more confidence on yourself when you're off-roading a lot. Here's the 2025 KTM 390 Adventure S, and let's start with something really cool that they've added in this bike, which is the crawl feature. Just a tiny twist of the throttle and the bike moves forward on its own. No clutch, no effort. In traffic or tricky slow speed situations, this makes life so much easier. I'm not sure if you can hear me with this audio, so what I'm going to do is, I was riding in street as of now, so let's just move it to off-road and see how well it can do. This still has everything on, so let's see how well it performs. Okay, so let's get on with this. It's currently in off-road mode, and I already feel the gear shifts being a lot more smoother. Once you're rolling, the bike feels smooth and controlled. The throttle response is refined, and with ride modes like rain and street, you can adjust the power to suit the conditions. And off-road mode is like proper full power, full experience mode. Need relaxed ride? The rain mode tones it down. Want more punch? The street mode gives you just the right amount of response, and off-road mode is amazing. The 390 S is taller and more planted than the 390X. The suspension is super comfortable. It soaks up bumps like nothing, making rough roads feel easy. But it's not just about comfort. This thing corners really well for an ADV, staying stable and confident even when you're pushing it. Now, compared to the 390X, this one definitely feels more relaxed. The X is sportier, lower and sharper for quick handling, while the S is all about versatility. And speaking about safety, the brakes are solid, but real game changer is the cornering ABS. Even if you're mid-turn and need to slow down, the bike stays composed, reduce the chances of escape. It's the kind of feature you don't think about until you need it. KTM has really taken the already capable 390 Adventure and made it even more better with all the tech. Whether you're commuting, touring, or even taking a detour, this bike is amazing. And the 390S is ready to conquer anything and everything. So let's head on to my final thoughts of the video, the conclusion. So behind me we have the 390X and 390S here. So if you are looking to either to get the 390 previous gen, the till 5 years what they've been riding, or you want to move on to the new one. The new one is just 6,000 more expensive than the old one, and for just 6,000 you get everything. You get cornering ABS, you get ABS, traction control, every electronics that require for you to be confident on the road and off-road as well. These bikes come with it, and the S comes with adjustable suspension and much more, which is off-road capabilities and everything. And also, to give you a little information, if you look at the KTM website, the official website, you will find that the 390 range, it doesn't end only with these two. There are 7 bikes in the 390 range, which is the 390 Duke, 390 RC, you have the Adventure X, Adventure S. In a month's time, or by the time you're looking at this video, I think the Enduro R has already launched. The SMC-R is also on its way to India. Fun range of motorcycles that are there in the market. So that's my conclusion, and hope you'll enjoy the video. Stay tuned. See you in the next one.